It's Tuesday, and Tuesdays for me is always choice day. If you don't know me, I'm Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature, and I'm going to try and make this one quick today because I've just had so many emotions that I've been tracking in the topsy-turvy world of choices and what to choose and what not to choose, and when quitting actually is probably the kindest thing that you can do. Because you know what, let's face it, we all have those moments in life where we just go, why am I carrying on? You know, why does this have to be so hard? And here's the thing that I know to be true. I saw a woman this morning who, at great lengths and great costs, got in the car and drove on a sniff of a rag of petrol because she didn't have money to put petrol in her car. Hi, Candice. And she did it anyway. She took the risk, and on petrol fumes and the determination and the commitment to turn her life around, because she knew that quitting wasn't an option for her. She has a little girl to support. She has animals that are depending on her, and quitting just wasn't an option. And I realized how easy it is for us to just throw it all in, throw the towel in. You know, and I was just totally floored by her attitude of partly being so stuck in the story because she's been running on adrenal high on fighting to stay alive. She come through cancer. She's had a mastectomy. She's had her husband that has had a stroke and is in a hospital, and everything's in his name, and the story, you know, it's just like, I wouldn't wish that kind of suffering on anybody, but at the end of the day, it's what made her resilient and made her strong enough to get in a car that she didn't even know she was going to have enough petrol to come home, to start to look at things that are outside of that so she could rewrite her story. And the emotions that were going on, you know, in my own body was, that could be me. It nearly was a couple of times. You know, when I was on my manic highs, I knew that I was invincible, that I could do absolutely anything. But when I hit the bottom, I wanted to quit all the time. I wanted to quit on myself. I wanted to quit on my life because it was just too painful. And there are going to be times in your life when you know that you can't quit because there are other people depending on you, and there are it's bigger than us. You can't quit. Quitting is not an option. And then there are times when you should quit. When you should, you know, you need to know, when do I keep going? When do I push through? When do I keep focus on the bigger picture of why I get up every day? It has to be bigger than you. Because if it's just about you, it's easy to quit. So there is some commitment in there, and there is the accountability that, you know what, I'm getting up because this matters too much to me. I brought a child into the life. I have animals, whatever it is for you. Sometimes, you know, life's little failures come along because we don't actually realize how close we are to turning those stories around and getting what we want in life. And I really believe that many of our life's failures are people without a shadow of a doubt that knew it was the right time to quit something. Maybe it's an abusive relationship. Maybe it's a soul-sucking job that's killing you. Maybe, you know, whatever it is for you, I'm sure you can think of many times when you wanted to quit. Maybe you want to quit right now. But it's bigger than you. And before we quit, before we give up, we have to recognize what's at stake here and claim our stake. Put our stake in the ground and know that, you know what, I'm going to do this anyway, because where I am and how I'm feeling right now is temporary. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just to go back into appreciation. Hi, Darlene. You know, go back into appreciating what you've got right in your life, what is working for you, and the times when you not quitting gave you the resilience, or maybe when you did quit something that was abusive, whether it was the self-talk, whether it was staying in the story, quit the story, write a new one. You can't do that, and you also can't make choices when you're in fear. You have to be willing to look at, what am I afraid of here? What's at stake? What am I going to lose if I stop this? Whether that's whatever it is for you. And that's why I get on Facebook every day, because I've heard too many people tell me that sometimes it's a lifeline that they didn't have when they wanted to quit, that there may be something in my ramblings, something in my crazy, screwed up, wise PhD of life experience, of doing shame, of doing depression, of being out in the field and not quitting, that changes something for you. So I show up every day and I make these little videos because I don't want you to think that you're alone. I don't want you to think that there is no way out, right? And irrespective of whether you decide to quit a business, a relationship, a dream, there's always a vision that's bigger than you for your life, because you were created for a purpose. You are miraculous. There's only one of you in the world doing what you do the way that you do it. And that's the living legacy that I want to give back to you if you're forgetting that you are important. Your life matters. Your story matters. But you cannot empower yourself if you're coming from a place of disempowered thoughts and feelings and emotions. And we need support. We need tribe to remind us that we have excuse me, we have our purpose. We have our contribution to give back to the world as only we can. And if we're not looking at quitting isn't an option right now, or looking at, you know what, it's time to quit because this is killing me. It's killing my future. It's killing my business, whatever it is for you. And being able to step up to the plate to claim your stake even when the going gets tough. Because we're okay when things are going great. It's when things aren't. And let's face it, right now, there's a lot of people that are struggling out there, struggling to make ends meet, struggling to make tough choices. You know, I've got one of my cats, my beloved cat, Toby. He's been, excuse me, he's been fighting. And I really mean it. You know, his body is fighting, his immune system is fighting all the time to fight an infection that's going on, because he has a big cancerous tumor on his head. And every day I cry cleaning those wounds. And I do the best that I can to keep him as comfortable as possible until there is no quality of life for him anymore. So instead of giving up, hi Victor, instead of quitting, look at what you're doing right. Look at where you're contributing. I love the hearts and the thumbs. Send me some more because I'm pretty emotional today. You know, this stuff matters to me. I don't like to see anybody or anything suffering. And yet we are addicted to suffering. We are so stuck. Hi, Kate. It's freezing up. I'm sorry. You know, stake. Yeah, you're a stake in the ground. Yeah. You know, life is difficult. Life is challenging. There's so many things that we have no control over. And, you know, with my cat, I don't want to make that tough choice. I don't want to quit on my cat, but I'm also willing to communicate and ask him, is it time yet? I ask him every day I get up and I see him. Is it time yet? Do you want to go get yourself a beautiful brand new body and trade this old one in? You know, is it time to quit? And he's been so brave and so, you know, he's not done yet. He's not done with my husband yet. My husband's not ready to let him go. Last night, he told me he's ready to go. My husband won't make the call. I'm going to have to make that tough choice. In fact, I've already chosen that today. That tomorrow, I'm going to phone the vet and I'm going to help my cat in having an assisted death. That he can die in grace, still beautiful. I know that he can come back again in a new body if he chooses to. And sometimes we have to make those tough choices for the people that we love who can't do it, right? Because they're not ready or whatever their reason is. We have to go there because quitting isn't an option. And I'm not going to sit and watch my cat suffer. And I think we also have to go into knowing, you know, can I change this? Because sometimes it's not for us to change. Sometimes it's just for us to hold that space for the people and the animals to choose what they're choosing. And it's horrible to watch people, and it's horrible to watch pain, right? It's horrible to see somebody struggling and suffering and making the same mistakes over and over again. But sometimes that's what we have to do, is just hold that container of space for that person or that animal to choose what they want to choose in their divine right timing. And I don't know if there's ever a good time for anything. You know, fear is there to hold us back. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah. You know, and seeing my client today, you know, it's just like when I asked her, when she got in her car after a 3-hour intensive, inspired, lit up, ready to make some changes, ready to change her story. And also that she really got it, that, you know, we can't keep cutting back. We can cut dead wood. You know, in a way, that's not quitting. That's not about giving up. That's about looking at how can I prune back bad relationships, things that aren't working for me in my life, so that I can make room for new things to come in that are aligned with what matters to me, what I stand for. You can't do that if your cup is overflowing with crap. And, you know, that's what we're taught as prefrontal thinkers, right? That let our feelings and our emotions often get in the way, is that we can't track our emotions and look at what we're really afraid of underneath that if we're running from fear. Please don't make choices in fear. But, you know, as I was saying with this woman today, when she got in the car with her child, the car wouldn't start. She didn't have any petrol. So I went and got her some petrol. And I filled her car up, because I don't want her to snuff that flame of inspiration, of hope that she got over the fact that she's making herself wrong, because it's irresponsible. You know, she could have broken down. She could have stopped in the middle of the highway. And you know, when I asked her, what would you have done if you'd kind of run out of petrol before you got home? And she said, I would have stood on the side of the road and begged so that I could get money for my petrol. And I've been in that place. You know, I've been in that place where I've been so down and out, where I can look at people and know that that could be me. You know, sometimes that is the only choice that we have. Quitting is not an option, right? We do whatever we have to do. We do whatever it takes to make sure that we get to wake up and live another day and do it better and learn from our mistakes. And, you know, it breaks my heart to see that level of pain. And at the same time, there's this huge amount of gratitude and appreciation for the things that I've done right in my life, to turn my story around, to turn my, you know, my health challenges around, to not buy the diagnosis that I'm bipolar and somehow I'm, you know, I'm always going to be handicapped, that I'm never going to get it right, or that a brain tumor is going to kill me. You know, it's about taking the right steps and also asking for help, being willing to receive, because you have the asking to give. And instead of looking at cutting back, you know, looking at where can I cut back because things are tight, or you're not making ends meet and the cost of living is going up, and all of that story. You know, I encourage you, if you're sitting in that place right now looking at there's no more left to cut back, you know, I can't tighten my belt anymore. This is it. I'm on empty. I'm running on the fumes of a petrol rag. There is more there. And sometimes we have to go into the fear. In fact, I would say we have to embrace fear. We have to look it straight in the face and ask that emotion, whether it's fear or anger, whatever it is that's coming up for you, is just to see where you're holding that in your body. What is it? What is the gift of it? And it's hard to find the gift in it. I totally get it, you know. But don't quit on yourself, because you're important. You're too important. This is too important. This life is too precious. But the small places where you can cut back the wood, But don't restrict your life. Don't collapse your zone. Don't go into a freeze state. Don't go there. Look at what can I add to my life today, right? So here's, I know this has come out in a really jumbly way because there's just been so much. I didn't know where to start today. But start with this. Whatever is going on right now, ask yourself, is this mine? And if it is, if you really get that the lightness that this is yours to change, this is yours to choose, to learn from your mistakes, your bad choices, how can I change it? Right? And see what comes up. See what comes in for you. What is this? Can I change it? How do I change it? What else is freaking possible? And being willing to ask for support, ask for help. Because that's what keeps us separate. That's what keeps us in the suffering. And I really love that I see women coming together from a space of generosity, that there's always more to give. The day I run out of giving because I can give, and I'm going into expectation of that there has to be some return, sometimes it's not for me to give. And sometimes it is. Just because I can. But look at that and also start to ask, instead of looking at where you can cut back, whether that's insurance or whatever, make informed choices. Ask questions. Make informed choices. Don't do it out of fear. Find out what you need. Where can I find the support that I'm looking for? And what can I add to my life? Instead of cutting things out, instead of restriction, it's kind of like diet. The minute your body hears diet, it hears die and thinks you're going to kill it, right? Because you're eliminating all the choices. Instead of asking your body, hey body, what do you need? Hey business, what do you need? Hey partner, what do you need? And then seeing, can I meet this person where they are? And can I support them in giving some of what they need? Sometimes we can't. But the holding space is enough. And start asking yourself, how can I add to my life today to make money right away? You'd be amazed what people are willing to do. Just go into fiverr.com. It's one of my favorite resources, fiverr.com. If you're feeling down and out, if you're feeling like you're ready to quit, you're ready to throw in the towel, just go into Fiverr and start looking at what are some of the things that you could do in your sleep and give it away for free. And you could do it backwards because it gives you so much joy. And because things are so easy for you, you don't realize that that's your gift, that's your talent. And I'm not saying that every idea, every creation that comes to you is what you should follow. That's not necessarily aligned with your purpose. But you know what? Everything is temporary. It's all there for us to receive. So what can you add to your life today to make you money right away? What can you add to your life to create more ease and more flow and more joy? And follow that. And you'll see people on Fiverr that are willing to do incredible, crazy stuff for $5. And it's not about the $5. It's about filling your cup. It's about filling your cup up. Because when you kind of expand $5 out, maybe it's not going to be $5. Maybe it'll be $5,000. That's how you start to grow. And what I shared with her today is looking at intrinsic wealth, right? What do you have that you have nurtured or grown or collected in your life that on a bad day, when you see that your bank account is in the red zone, and you go, oh my God, I have no money. I don't know how I'm going to live. How I'm going to pay my rent. And you start getting into this fear-driven lack and scarcity story that you can turn around. Thank you, Joy. That you can turn around and look at, wow, you know what? Like this beautiful woman today. No petrol for my car. A lot of emotional attachment to some antiques that were left to her by her great-grandmother. A garden full of cycads that she's grown from a seed that are worth a lot of money, right? That's what intrinsic value is. It's something that somebody else needs or desires or wants that they're willing to pay top dollar for because they want it and they can have it, right? They have the resources to have it. All of a sudden, you're not broke. You're not down and out anymore, right? But you have to let go of the attachment and go, oh my God, so much appreciation that I had the foresight or the inspiration to take the seeds from that first cycad and plant them and find the water to grow it every day, right? Not saying, oh my God, they're going to die because there's no rain. Getting resourceful. And I mean, this sounds a little crass, but it's just like, you know, people that are choosing to live, that are shipwrecked, that are out floating on a float for days on end, they're willing to drink their own urine if that means keeping their bodies alive. So there's always a way. There's always a way when you can start looking at, instead of what do I have to lose, right? What do I have to cut back on to come out at the end of the month, to start looking at what can I add to my life today to get me closer to where I'm going. And if that means putting food on your table, it's another day you put food on your table, because you do have control over your choices. You get to choose to stay in lack and scarcity, or you get to choose to see how abundant and rich you are, because this is your biggest resource. Your heart is your biggest resource. Your body is a resource, right? It's a miraculous thing. As long as we have, you know, this beautiful nose to smell danger, be drawn into things of great beauty. I'm going to pick the most beautiful roses today. I'll have to show you. Look at those. Out of my garden, you know, because there's plenty more. And sometimes when we prune, nature shows us that. When you start to prune back dead wood, if you pick berries, you actually encourage that bush to grow more, right? There's a beautiful marula bush, mulberry bush down the road from me. Every time I go, I marvel at the beautiful strength that this tree, in spite of the fact that there's been very little rain, every summer, it is full of raspberries, and the birds take some, and the people take some, and some fall to the ground and go back into the soil. It's an abundant universe. Things have to circulate. So instead of holding on to things, and yes, we get emotionally attached to stuff, but when we go into appreciation of going, oh my gosh, you know, that little seed that's now become this beautiful cycad, I wonder who would want that. I wonder who'd be willing to buy that from me so that I get to put food on the table tomorrow. You're not poor anymore. You're not stuck in your lack and scarcity story anymore, because you're looking at how can this contribute to my life in ways that are greater than I could ever imagine possible, right? And looking at your intrinsic value. For me, I've been collecting silver frames, little antique silver frames, since I was 18. I just got drawn to that. I didn't know that, you know, in the age of technology, 30 some years later, that silver would be outperforming gold, because there's a scarcity of it, right? When things are scarce, they increase in their value. And as much as I love them and I appreciate them every day and they bring me great joy, I know that even on the worst day, when I have maybe no money left in the bank, I'd actually rather take the money out of the bank where it's not growing and buy another silver frame. That I know that somebody somewhere with eBay and all these great ways to sell these days, somebody would want that. And I'd get to put food on the table again. So I guess that's a wrap. I hope that was helpful. I hope that inspired you to know when quitting is an option and when quitting is not an option, and give you a different point of view on failure. There's nothing, you know, what's the worst that could happen? We don't fail, we learn. If we're willing to see the gift in it, there are no mistakes, there is no failure. There's only the capacity to know that anything is possible if you commit to get out of your story, see the trauma of whatever it is, whether it's financial abuse or a relationship that's abusive, see it for the gift that it was, and celebrate you that you got it right to leave, right? You got it right to quit, whatever that is. And you live to see another day wiser and stronger and more resilient because you did it, right? Because, you know, for me, There's no escaping past hurt from childhood or other lifetimes. It's always going to be there. So you can see it as a gift and look at what you did right, or you can see it as a handicap and stay in the victimology of being wounded and betrayed, and you know that life isn't fair, and all the other stories we tell each other, all the judgments that we keep it and keep those things in place with. So this Tuesday I want you to really tap into what you can appreciate about what you've done right in your life and what you can add to your life today. Right? What is yours to change? And where can you start leaning into that rather than eliminating your choices to create and be greater than you were today? Little mucky. Make sense? So, go and be brilliant. Know that you always have choice. And yes, our feelings get hurt. And yes, we beat ourselves up. We're brilliant at that as women, especially. We're empathetic, we're sympathetic, we're sensitive, we're emotional beings. And we're not always going to get it right. We're not always going to please everybody. So you may as well start to do what's right and true for you and follow that and get vulnerable about it. You know, get really vulnerable. Don't shut yourself down. Don't cut back. Add to your life because you are. And you're willing to ask. And post your comments and questions. Tell me one thing that you are in deep appreciation of for you, for what you got right today. And what could you add? What one thing could you add to your life today that could expand your possibilities, expand your joy of being, and allow the things in your life to contribute to you, including things and people and animals and plants. And go there. Because I love you and you matter. And I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting on myself, and I'm certainly not going to quit on you, because I want to see your story out in the world. And I want you to be telling your story from that authentic heart place of vulnerability. You know, I no longer, there's no shame for me to say, hey, you know what? It's an interesting point of view that I was given that diagnosis of bipolar. But you know what? I'm not on any medication. I swing with the highs and the lows, and I have great tools and great support to keep me on track and focused, to know that there's method in all this madness, right? There really is. And where could you see a diagnosis or a label or a judgment that's been given to you as the greatest gift there is? Because then there's nothing to resist, there's nothing to defend, there's nothing to push against. There's only the willingness and the choice to acknowledge that you're exceptional, you're undefinable, you're different, and you matter. Those contrasts can be beautiful if we could just see them as, oh, got a nice curly hair here. If we can just see them for what they are, they're contrasts. The pendulum swings, and wherever you are, no matter how awful or bad or terrible you may be feeling right now, that's temporary too. So look for the gift in that. Post your comments and questions. Let me know if this inspired you today, and be brilliant. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.